इतना हो गया बट अभी डेंजरस नहीं है 300-400 पॉइंट.
हाँ, but if you look at F&O, calls are getting built in 2300.
आज एक्सपायरी है.
नहीं, एक्सपायरी की बात नहीं कर रहा मैं कह रहा हूँ कि वहाँ पर ऐसे
नॉट टॉकिंग एक्सपायरी है लाइव बाय द वे.
या वी आर राइट, दैट्स ओके, बट एक्सपायरी के बारे में नहीं कह रहा, पर वहाँ पर उसको रेजिस्टेंस मिलेगा. if you look at the build-up ना 23,000 में पुट है और 23,100 में.
वीक मैन टॉक अबाउट रेजिस्टेंसेस, स्ट्रांग मैन टॉक अबाउट टारगेट्स.
टारगेट, अच्छा व्हाट इज द टारगेट? चलो इसी बात पे टारगेट बताओ.
No, so today Shrikant Chauhan said that.
नहीं, श्रीकांत नहीं, अपना बताओ टारगेट.
हम कैसे टारगेट दे सकते हैं? बट मैं तो बोल रहा हूँ कलर देता, हम तो कलर दे सकते हैं. The color looks decent. I mean the screen.
Color looks green today.
No, what I mean is the screen looks still promising for a few 100 points more. The naked leverage पे थोड़ा
few 100 points more.
निफ्टी पे, सेंसेक्स नहीं, सेंसेक्स तो 100% few 100 points. पर निफ्टी few 100, 200-300 points ठीक है, इतना बुरा नहीं है फिलहाल.
We already up what 4% in March.
हाँ.
4.5% in March actually.
नहीं 4.5 नहीं हुआ, 3% होगा. 2.2%
तो कल था.
हाँ 2.2 अभी 4% होगा from the lows.
4.29% in March. In March alone.
हाँ.
In March alone, after a 5.9% fall in Feb.
You remember we had spoken about this at the start of March.
That March is
4 consecutive months. This hasn't happened.
Five.
So for the 5th consecutive month, it's not happened.
No, 5th consecutive month has happened.
Happened. 6th month है ये.
ये हाँ 5 महीने हो गया ना.
वो तो चिन्मय ने डेटा निकाला था. फिर हमने लास्ट 20 साल का दिसंबर जैन फेब का डेटा निकाला था कि मार्च में हमेशा जहाँ पे भी दिसंबर जैन फेब नेगेटिव होता है तब मार्च में बाउंस बैक आती है.
और एक और डेटा था कि 15th March to 30th April has been a superb period for investing. Superb period, without exception, almost without exception.
Tax harvesting की वजह से.
अप्रैल तक
फर्स्ट अप्रैल के बाद क्या टैक्स हार्वेस्टिंग?
नहीं, 15 मार्च की बात कर रहा हूँ.
हाँ 15 मार्च से लेके 30th April
but sir I think
तक का
that's
डेटा is been very good for him.
but I think that's also because mutual fund buying little bit but
Yeah,
that's
but
up to 31st
April-
month. What's this April connection I don't know.
Yeah, but April 10-year average of April is 2.4% higher.
Which is really good.
Yeah. So
Monthly returns of 2.4%.
Suddenly we will realize the value of 2%. But this is, I mean, no, so to get quickly sum up the point, it looks good. Be careful with leverage. Most importantly also because the today overnight announcement by the Adani Group and standard disclaimer they own NDTV.
Yeah.
Overnight announcement by the Adani Group on cables and wires suddenly shows you that if you rightly may have assumed then that KEI, Polycab, etc. have fallen a lot and you can buy them on leverage, you are really under pressure. These days, वो bomb कहीं से भी आ रहा है. So be careful.
जाते जाते भी कोई पीछे मार के फेंक देता है.
So just got to be a bit careful.
ये इंफ्रा में एक बड़ी तेजी आई है where there has been a lot of interest, people
That's
buying.
understandable ना.
And then now
Order
it's
flow.
gone. Now it's gone into infra-related sectors.
Building materials.
Cement.
Building materials.
Wires and cables. Paint.
Cement में तेजी आई है?
Paint. तेजी नहीं आई है sir. I'm saying the large conglomerates are focusing more on on some of these.
So entry
and
of large.
trying to disrupt the space, you know, and that's basically the trend that's currently playing out. Cement पहले था, फिर paints आया, Ultratech went into paint, Grasim went into paints.
You know the same argument.
Thereafter,
the same argument which we were talking about for Grasim or Hindalco, you know, sorry, Ultratech, that it's a different distribution game for cable and wireless holds here as well, right? In that sense, and here. It's not the same company, it's a promoter company and cement is a different venture in whole. So while we are talking about two big conglomerates coming into a segment which is much more, how do you say, it's very unorganized in a large way. It's because organized players are very small and this is going to lead to consolidation within the industry, but आगे जाके कैसे करेगा वो
So the conversation right now, because it's such a, I mean, there is no
It's
clarity
early,
around
yeah.
this thing, but the conversation is around the incumbents, right, today.
Yeah.
That because the incumbent shares are down. KEI 12-13%, Polycab, etc. They are down. They are still, by the way, Polycab is still higher than the lows that it made when it fell, when Ultratech came to the picture.
Last Feb. Oh, Ultratech came into the picture, yes. But
So it
also
went to
last
4,700.
February. Last February, there was that issue with regard to
the tax.
the tax issue.
नहीं तभी तो बॉस 4,000 तक गया था
4,000 तक गया।
तो वहाँ से तो ऊपर है बट 4,700 तक गया था अभी वहाँ से भी ऊपर है बट द पॉइंट बीइंग these stocks now become a sell on rise. I would reckon that while they will show earnings growth because the multiples are not exactly dirt cheap, maybe the street might say, boss, let's play safety. यहाँ पे interest आ रहा है. But
that's the other place, Niraj, and I don't know whether Sajeet sir, you guys have a view. Wherever multiples have been elevated, and wherever we've seen a decent amount of market cap, market share with a single or two players, we've largely seen large players enter and try and disrupt, right? This
The
has happened
multiples
with
also get
telecom as
de-rated.
well.
अभी promoters बोलेंगे अच्छे नंबर मत दिखाओ अच्छे नंबर अच्छे
Market
ROC
share
दिखाओगे
दिखाओ ही नहीं,
market
ROC
share-
दिखाओ ही नहीं, मत-
Let's-
We have 7% market share, 27% market share. I think they'll start.
नहीं रिटर्न ऑन कैपिटल मत दिखाओ दिखाओगे तो बाकी लोग सोचेंगे यहाँ पर तो बहुत ज़्यादा प्रॉफिटेबल है
वही तो
Next Voltus will be running कि बस 24-25% मार्केट नहीं हम कहाँ हमारे पास मार्केट
But that is also a large group, right?
Yeah,
So the Tata group. has
No,
the
but
thing,
just joking. So yeah, but that's, I guess that is the theme, right? Wherever
Yeah, so,
there's consolidation,
so wherever there is a small number of players and the market is largely unorganized and they have a larger share and the disruption happens, so the multiple derating is also much
huge
sharp
and
actually.
very painful
and
for
painful.
investors. If someone has gotten onto the Polycab bandwagon at 6,000, which is not a bad price really, and then stock has gone up 20% after that, and then fallen, some real pain. Yeah, they're like 30-40% down from that level.
If investment gurus couldn't teach people that buy at any price is not a good idea, corporate India is not teaching them. If a stock is trading at 90 P multiple, some corporate somewhere will say, मुझे ये धंधे में जाना है.
Holding company का PE is at just about double digit, 11, 12, 13 का PE है. अभी okay, M&M का maybe a little bit more, but traditionally has always been low holding company PEs. तो तुम एक कंपनी का PE ऐसे लेके आओ, ऐसा एक धंधे में जाओ कि तुम्हें 90-100 का PE मिल जाए.
You're saying the holding company will go into a higher P multiple.
multiple.
business. Yeah. As long as
The
there's some
entire
related
value of the
stuff.
group will go up.
In the Adani Group's case, they have a corporate business, or
They
they
are venturing, they manufacture. They are about to start commercial
आप
production.
इसे स्टाइल में क्यों बैठे हैं सर?
मैं ये रखने में आसानी नहीं रहेगी ना. और आप
अब चाय के पीछे पड़ गए उनके.
चाय नहीं है, गर्म पानी है.
Green tea.
But anyway, so yeah, so by the way, likes and we will take questions. But I think this stocks, to my mind, become a bucket which will have upsides capped. Now, whether the sell on rise happens 5% higher, 10% higher, 15%, I have no idea. A lot of it will also depend on earnings growth, right? For the next 2 years at least, they will show some very good earnings growth. But I think the multiples compress and therefore they become a sell on rise at some point of time. So I think if you charted a 5-year story in your mind about cable and wire companies, कि यहाँ पे लिया है next 5 साल if they will grow 20-25% and therefore your returns will be mapped to that, I think that will need a rethink.
Yeah.
Because I think there will be some selling that will come in.
Yeah, and competition somewhere along the way as well.
In the next
Selling
3
will
years,
come
4 years.
1 year prior to that, then competition will
Yeah,
come,
means,
and thereafter will reflect on numbers.
It takes at least 3 years for a business to just show some results. Right?
Yeah,
Means
yeah.
from the time of operation to setting it up and everything.
Grasim recently said
what
that they will do single digit market share this year.
Higher single digit.
Yeah, so in a matter of a year, they'll be doing, even if I say 7, 8, 9%, that's huge amount of market share taken away, right? In an industry which is not growing, slowing down,
Yeah.
a lot of drag with regard to demand.
But I
Very
have data.
interesting kind of.
I have data, by the way, today.
Yeah.
Data is this, that since the Adani Group entered the cement business, and the difference is, of course, that the Adani Group, when it entered by wholesale, bought ready assets, ready operational assets. This time around, that will not be the case. So it will take time to put up. But nevertheless, since the Adani Group entered, which is 29 April 2022, around, they entered in May. So मैं 29 April का data ले रहा हूँ. 29 April का data ले रहा हूँ. वहाँ पे the prices of Shri, Dalmia, Ramco, for example, the ones which get impacted the most, right? Smaller players, etc. The returns, since then, 9% cumulative returns for Shri Cement, 12% cumulative returns for Dalmia Bharat, 7% cumulative returns for Ramco. That's what that entry did. Now, जैसे people के दिमाग में है कि एशियन पेंट्स को ये हुआ था, वैसे अभी अदानी के एंट्री से लोगों सीमेंट में ये हो सकता था, ये हुआ था, क्या केबल एंड वायर में ये होगा?
So आपके टॉप 2 को छोड़ के बाकी के जो 3 या 4 प्लेयर हैं उन सब में ऐसे होगा?
वही हो सकता है, बराबर है.
रिटर्न अर्निंग ग्रोथ होगा, but returns नहीं आएंगे.
Yeah, Ultratech gave 63% return. So, but that is also over 3 years, not annually. So, मतलब 15%, 16% per CAGR हुआ. So, there is data to suggest that people should be worried. So, that's the limited point.
Yeah.
It's disruption. I think Surendra was also talking about city, right? It's not about it's more about the disruption that it creates in the entire ecosystem.
हाँ, वो market share disruption. Eventually disruption होए, but ये market distribution होता है तो उसमें भी
fear of disruption is something which is multiples
problem हो जाएगी. Should we take questions or are we some likes away?
I don't know. I'm just gonna quickly check.
Yes, need some more likes.
Yeah, need some more likes.
Come on, guys, please
hit the like. Otherwise, we can't take questions. Anyway, what do you make of the Fed commentary? Because we spoke about IT yesterday. We missed you. I thoroughly missed you. Because Rucha was taking me to the cleaners. Should go back and watch that show.
Yes, yesterday.
No reasoning. Just taking me to the cleaners. No reasoning per se, but just taking me to the cleaners. But
he specifically came for that actually.
Anyway, so point being, what do you make of the Fed commentary? I'm sorry, I'll contextualize this. They're talking about not having clarity on inflation. They're talking about not having clarity on rates.
Growth.
They're talking about possible taper down with regard to growth. Inflation has upside risk, growth has a downside risk, and rates they are saying will remain as is. So in this environment, rates will remain as is.
And they're bringing in the T word, which is transitory.
I was about to say that. There is one word answer for it, transitory. And everything is transitory.
And
when central banks...
And so finally, markets are up. ये मेरे को बिल्कुल भी नहीं समझा. When I was sleeping, I'm seeing 2% higher. I'm saying, what is happening? I'm not understanding what's happening.
Yeah, no, but that must be because...
सब कुछ गिर रहा है, but markets ऊपर है.
No, but देखो मैं बोल रहा हूँ कि उसमें तो चलो you could argue that there was so it was neither here nor there, right? You could argue. Bill Bryson's famous book, Neither Here Nor There. So I think the Fed was also neither here nor there, but in some sense, but bringing out.
But in actual sense, it didn't know anything. It doesn't know anything. But they don't know what Trump is going to do. They don't know, because they don't know what Trump is going to do. They don't know what is the impact, and because of that, they don't know what's going to happen. And so policy rates को transitory के अंदर डाल दिए कि भाई जब होगा देखेंगे. But last time, they did this transitory thing. There's so many people climbing on that bandwagon.
Yeah, so recession odds have moved up, aren't high. I think that to my mind, the takeaway wasn't positive.
Positive, yeah.
But for the fact that on rates, अभी भी dot plot, 2 rate cut
बोल रहा
है.
But number of people who going to no rate cut has gone to 4 from 1.
But sir, why is that a surprise? Why are markets up on the back? ये मुझे समझ में नहीं आ रहा है. So I'm thinking at night कि भाई चल क्या रहा है? What am I missing here? And I'm rewatching the whole thing because I'm like, what have I missed here? Because they've virtually not given anything away. They've said that...
Maybe the street was hoping for clarity on the economy, but bracing itself for Jerome Powell to say that, rate cuts are going to be not on the table and that tariffs are a real threat. He downplayed the impact of tariffs. Let's be real. He did. And
if that downplayed the impact
so
of
if
tariffs,
you
sure.
So if the,
he said it will be a
the
near-term impact,
so
thereafter it will go away.
Yeah, and still undependable. So if there is a feeling largely that tariffs are going to be negative, and if somebody who's not a part of the Republican side coming out and saying that, or it may have a transitory impact or very less impact, then you're probably clutching at straws which are slightly positive. That's my reading into it. I couldn't find any other reason for the same.
My point was very simple that yes, there is some cloudy outlook that he's painting, and because of that cloudy outlook, what is the kind of impact is going to happen for some of the sectors which, like in India, right? Means IT is going through a pain. We've seen some kind of bounce happening in IT today. It's up.
That's only because of US, which is why I brought this up. Because US markets were up, so I expected IT to be up.
The outlook for IT. I mean, it further, it basically says that that the recovery which is expected because interest rates will go down, and then you again see discretionary spends coming back. That may get pushed down to end of the year, or maybe till September. Because by September you will get to know कि दो हो रहे कि नहीं हो रहे. अगर दो होते हैं, तो we going to see the Q3 numbers to be good. अगर at least एक भी होता है तो Q3 number would be good. But अगर वो push हो जाता है, so then we are going to see a extended pain for IT. So that, and then it goes into 26 and 27.
Correct.
So 12 से 18 महीने जो what we were talking yesterday, that entire thing has been pushed from 12 to 18 months, is something which is going to play out.
Okay, by the way, thank you. So we need to move to questions now.
Yes.
Yeah, we have 11 minutes left. So Devanshu Kumar, of course, has given a small message of appreciation. So Devanshu, thank you so much for that. I'm glad that you're live for as much as you can. Much appreciate. And maybe we should take his question first. So, with Fed indicating 2 more rate cuts this year implies RBI will do rate cuts as well. What is your take on mass trading at 1.8 times price to book in TTM? Hersh, any thoughts here?
Mass is trading at 2.2 times TTM. So small correction there, but I believe that it is. So we've done a KYC on Mass Financial, and you just go and see that the simplest way to kind of break it down and decide whether it looks good for you or not.
But
a KYC is not a company; it's a show in which.
But कुछ तो बताओ लोगों को जो सुन रहे हैं.
Investors. So okay, Mass Financial. What stands out for me? They are guiding for 20 to 25% growth over the long term. They don't look at QOQ numbers. It's a small NBFC, 10,000 odd crore, trading at 2.2 times book. The GNP has never gone above 2.5 in the last 25 years of its existence. They do MSME lending. 75% of its book will continue to be a large chunk of its book. They also now do personal loans, salaried personal loans, which is roughly 7% of its book. The margins roughly are at 7%. The ROA is roughly 2.8% currently. But they've guided for ROA to be in the band of 2.7% and 3%, which is very, very good relative to peers. And but whatever my experience has been with Mass, in terms of tracking them, they've largely met guidance.
Despite the fact that they are into SME, MSME segment, which is facing some issue.
Despite that, GNP are not above 2.5, sir.
And
despite that.
And what about the auto sector?
My first question to him on the show, KYC, was that what gets you there? So he said, we don't push. We allow customers to come in. We don't push our product. And we believe that that is the way to do it. So he didn't explain the process. I pushed him to explain to us what his processes are. And likely and fairly so, he may not explain it. Why would he give away that kind of insight? But what he said is that the initial nudge is what's the most relevant part when you're lending. Push करने के लिए तो हम पूरा 10,000 करोड़ एक quarter में कर देंगे. But that's the nature of money, unfortunately. That's why he's saying that we look at it differently. That answer impressed me, and therefore I went ahead. But question was that he didn't answer that question in a pointed fashion.
I think we should push that interview in this so that
yeah, we'll do that. So
Devanshu can
maybe
have a look at
that
interview
through.
which is there.
Yeah.
अगला
सवाल Fed commentary on
करोड़
inflation.
रुपए के लिए.
Fed commentary on inflation is transitory and central banks are buying gold. Does it mean real currency, that is gold and silver, will rise further until geopolitical situation stabilizes?
So I'm shameless plug. If you want to know about gold, tomorrow we are doing a show with Edward Yardeni of Yardeni Research, and Naresh Kataria, who tracks, amongst other things, gold very, very closely. I think it'll play out sometime during the day tomorrow. So tomorrow, if you log on to the show, we will drop the link to that interview. So that's my shameless plug.
But what's your view on gold?
It's such a...
Means central banks are buying gold.
Everyone is buying gold.
Everyone is buying. But we don't see retail. No, I'm not.
Why?
सर इसीलिए नहीं टच किया है.
But
3,500.
why?
$3,500.
No, I'm not a gold investor.
You're generally not a gold investor.
Generally not a gold investor. Simple as that. Because while gold has given decent returns over the last couple of years.
Across time periods,
Decent?
it's beating.
Decent. I would say
across
decent.
time periods.
Because the thing is that you are taking gold returns.
I really want to know what's in Sajeet sir's portfolio.
Gold-
I feel
gold has
given
beaten-
decent returns.
NPS, gold has beaten.
Gold, I would say that you should look at gold after adjusting for inflation returns and not
After what?
Adjusting for inflation and
But that is for all asset
For all
classes.
asset classes.
इक्विटी में एडजस्ट होके आता है भाई, सिंपल की बात है.
हाँ?
हाँ,
वो कैसे?
वो मैं आपको समझाऊंगा अलग से, पर अभी अगले क्वेश्चन पे
Okay, done. ये गलत है वैसे. I counter this, viewers. Sajeet is skirting away. We'll get him on this tomorrow. हाँ? But हाँ, चलो next question.
अगला है श्रीकर रेड्डी का. Do you see Indian defense companies benefiting and increasing from the, especially after the EU defense spending?
I think so.
I think so.
Some companies will.
See, many of the defense companies are EU based.
They are Indian companies.
Indian ही मतलब globally जो many of the companies are EU based. So if EU is going to increase its defense spending, there is opportunity for Indian companies to look at other markets, like what we have been seeing for the last 2 to 3 years because of the Ukraine war and then Israel war and all. So the entire thing gets diverted to that region, and then there are other countries are scrambling for it. So if you look at Indian defense companies' exports, they're targeting some 30,000 odd crores in exports. And that's primarily because the demand has gone up in the last 2 to 3 years, because main OEMs are now catering to the existing war. Now that Germany has very clearly said that they're going to be a little easy on the fiscal, and then they're going to spend on defense, and so is France and UK and other regions in the world in that areas. I think it's good for the defense companies of those regions, but from an Indian company's point of view, it brings in more opportunity, especially some of the private sector companies, who are into defense. But it's an opportunity. You cannot quantify it, because ये ऐसा नहीं होगा कि अभी 28 हज़ार करोड़ है तो कल 50 अगले साल 50 हो जाएगा. वो नहीं होने वाला. Because many of the defense exports that happen from India is on a government to government basis, right? Means supply those, and very well actually. Yesterday
infra also to that extent. So anything which is relating to government spend actually, and we've been saying this since a while actually on this forum as well as on NDTV, that on the larger NDTV forum, that will play out likely. So that likely is happening.
1% now.
So last two questions.
Okay. FMCG sector is currently showing no momentum.
भाई सिटी ने आज डाउनग्रेड किया है स्टेपल्स को टू अंडरवेट.
सिटी ने सब कुछ डाउनलोड कर दिया, आईटी भी कर दिया है.
नहीं, they upgraded NBFCs today. They upgraded NBFCs to overweight, but they have reduced FMCG to downgraded FMCG. So why I think I think they are given here staples, because they say recovery is likely to be slower, and our earlier neutral stance was based on much lower than historical average valuations, and that helping outperform a cyclical slowdown, but that is not worked out. So that's the view from Citi.
But do you see much more pain coming in for?
Yeah, पता नहीं. देखो FMCG is so 2-3 things now. एक तो the channel is a very dominant theme now. Earlier they owned distribution, now they don't technically, and to the local competition. And by local I mean let's say अगर पहले Bhujia was made by a pan India player, now so there is Haldiram out there, local player per se, and now pan India. But a lot of snacking companies.
True, and the bigger thing is that the contracting has
Viva sauce.
Contracting बहुत बढ़ गया है. So HUL जहाँ से साबुन बनाता है वहाँ से ITC भी बनाता है, वहाँ से गोदरेज भी बनवाता है. And so the quality of the soaps are automatically at almost at par, right? Except for the brand name and everything, which is there. So that is something which is it's evening out कि भाई मैं पहले HUL लूँगा क्योंकि HUL का क्वालिटी ज़्यादा था, अच्छा था ITC से या गोदरेज से या किसी और से, विप्रो से. अभी वो नहीं है. अभी आउटसोर्सिंग की वजह से you have consistent quality which is coming through contracting, which is there. And it's just a brand.
And there are niche brands also, right? Hunasa, Viba,
and multiple others. So that's true.
Yeah,
okay,
and that's good to see.
We are rapid fire now. 2-3 questions. If anybody has a view. So Suraj Jain is asking what's happening in KR and heat exchangers. Is the PE or valuation real issue? Well, the issue कहाँ पे भाई? 200 का IPO 900 है. There is no issue. Everybody's laughing their way to the bank, but it's very expensive, yes. Just that I'll shamelessly say we can drop that interview. They just gave an interview to us on Monday.
Monday को किया था.
Monday को interview दिया था. 6x capacity expansion वगैरह. So please do your math. But is it expensive? Of course it is very expensive. So bear that in mind.
Will you
Dynamic Technologies? You had interviewed them very quickly, 30 seconds.
It's doing well with respect to the entire defense part of it. But growth is going to be little, 20% or that's what he was talking about. So उतना ही रहेगा उसका. अभी कुछ नया आया तो पता नहीं. I haven't seen the latest news on it, but that's something.
Last one question. In fact, last 1 minute, Hersh, 2 questions. Both of them are up your alley because you've interviewed Zaggle, I believe, recently. And there is a view on why did Bajaj Finance not fall. So 30 seconds each, Hersh. I'm timing you.
Bajaj Finance was super cheap. Not fall what? I mean, it's really outperformed the market. It's up like 20% from the lows of 6,500 से तो उससे भी ज़्यादा है. In fact, 25 to 30% return दे दिया है. So really, really good in that sense. I mean, can it go higher from here? Currently trading, I believe, at around 4.5-5 times book. Not looking too expensive either. But at the same not looking too expensive compared to previous valuations that Bajaj Finance typically trades at. So a 5-year average still trading at the lower end of that range, 5-year average. So therefore, possible upside there, yes. But is it as juicy as it was at 6,600? Obviously, some of that has been taken off because the stock has rallied. I'm not sure whether it will consolidate for some time before it goes up. Mind you, Rajiv Jain, this by the end of this month, will be up for a role with FinServe Finance. That will well determine at least a short-term.
But will it be?
But it's well known.
It's
30 seconds is 1 minute हो गया.
But executive role नहीं होगा ना, non-executive.
Non-executive, but well discovered, well known. And they've planned for the future.
FinServe में finance में है क्या है वो थोड़ा uncertainty अभी भी है. Morgan Stanley का नोट था इसलिए मैं बता रहा हूँ कि वो एक रिस्क है.
अच्छा अगर वो उसको छोड़ के अभी अलियंस ऐसा चले जाए तो क्या होगा?
नहीं होगा. चलो वो तो. अच्छा next
Zaggle, so Zaggle has fallen from the highs. I don't know where it is today, but they are roughly looking at FY28 top line of around 3,000 crore if I'm not wrong, and around 15% margins is what they're guiding for. Expensive 100%, I believe 10 times EBITDA is what it trades at even now. FY28 EBITDA. So maybe you want to look at it, how much of a business moat it has to be able to command the kind of valuations that it gets today is something you should look at if you understand that business as well. I believe that there aren't substantial moats for it to trade at the value that it does, but maybe a larger correction could make it start looking interesting in my opinion, but I'm not an expert with regard to software, so maybe you want to look that up.
Okay. We need to wrap.
Yeah. It's 1
yes.
And tomorrow we'll come back with your interview on gold.
Yes. If you publish it, it'll be a lovely interview. So, kal ya Monday ko, but I'm mostly thinking that we'll put it out tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's getting recorded at 8 in the morning.
But we should ask him that question, right? Yesterday, gold versus silver. Do you think the silver, the ratio of...
before 2019, the English cricket team ke liye kaha jata tha, always the bridesmaid, never the bride. Then the one, separate. So silver ke liye wahi hai. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride. The pinnacle is always taken by gold. I've heard these arguments now. I started my career as a gold and dollar and whatever precious metals trader. So
पर उस समय का डिमांड और इस समय का डिमांड सिनेरियो
नहीं तभी भी all articles like silver industrial demand, grokking etc. Silver is the real this thing. वो 20 साल से अभी भी वही है. Gold outperforms. So until it changes, don't try to reinvent the wheel. But let's wrap. Thank you so much.
On that
Thank you
note.
guys.
Please subscribe and hit the like button. Thank you.